Today we're going to show you an in-depth ranking strategy to get your products to the top of page 1 before the fourth quarter. I'm Brand KickstartPPC, and let's get into the video. Now the first thing you want to do is actually identify what keywords you want to rank for. And the best thing to do is use a platform like Helium 10. If you don't have Helium 10 already, we have a discount link in the description. But once you're signed in and once you're using it, what you want to do is find one of your main search terms that you have, such as chopping board. We'll use chopping boards for the purpose of the video, and you want to look by search volume and also make sure that main phrases are included in the keyword. Once you have that narrowed down, what you want to do is find what search terms show up and filter by search volume. Now, just because they have the highest search volume doesn't mean it's going to be the right fit. So what you need to do is identify keywords that have a good cost per click. So such as maybe this one here, cutting board, it's a $1 average cost per click. At the top end, it's $1.53. So it's not too bad, especially if you have a good conversion rate. Main thing you want to do is actually look at the cost per click. So see what is the average cost per click, what's the higher end of that bidding range, and that'll give you an idea what you're actually going to have to spend to rank on that keyword. So the first thing you want to do is select, say, your top 10. So this could be anything from the top, which could be by search volume, or you could be looking at what has the lowest cost per clicks. So that could be 90 cents, that could be $1, whatever you choose there. And once you have those keywords selected, maybe you've got 5, right? So let's just pick 5 at random. What you want to do first is identify what your cost per click is averaging over the course of the year. So you can use this graph here, have a look at the all time. Are you increasing after Q4? Is it more expensive during Q4? This will tell you all that information here. And what you want to use this for is actually look at when is going to be the cheapest time to rank on average. Based on this, we can see that at the moment, the cost per click, whilst it's going to be okay for a bit, it's going to get a bit higher towards Christmas. Some points during Christmas, it gets a little bit higher there. It'll drop down in January, and then it will start to go back up again in the new year. So this can help you predict and also forecast what you're going to have to spend to actually get this ranked. So you want to look at that, and then you also want to look at search volume. This will tell you, based on how the search volume is, when the best time to sell this product is. As you can see, when you're looking at the graph, you can see that during the Christmas periods, it does tend to perform better, and that's going to tell you what you need to know. This is going to be a very Q4 eccentric product. It's something that people are going to be gifting quite a lot, and it's something you should be focused on ranking, particularly now before it gets more expensive. So once you have that in mind, what you need to do, of course, actually go ahead and create a campaign as you would. And what you should be doing is actually setting them up as a single keyword campaign. So pick your ASIN, of course, and then, of course, select manual targeting, keyword targeting, and then set them up as an exact match. Now, once you have these search terms, what you want to do is actually separate these to be different campaigns. So you only want to have one keyword per campaign so you can have maximum control of what you're doing. So after you've set that up, you need to look at what the bid range is. This should be more or less similar to how Helium 10 shows you, but you want to bid at the top end of that. So whether it be $1.20 for this keyword, make sure you save it, or it might be a bit higher. And here, obviously, you can put it at up and down, dynamic. That will give you a bit more flexibility in terms of where your bids are, so you can show up at top of search. But obviously, you can just set it down only. That's the default we like to use. But if you do want to get that top of search, that's an option. And you can also put high top of search placements, so you do show up at the top of search. This is where you're going to get the most exposure and the highest conversion rate. So it's going to be very important for you to show up there, have these high bids, have these high placements to make sure you are getting the most exposure. Now, when it comes to actually naming the campaign, what you need to do is actually make sure you have the title of the product. So say cutting board, the sponsored product, exact, SKAG. So that's single keyword ad group. That means that you have one keyword per ad campaign and one ad group. It's very important to have the right naming structure in place, particularly when it comes to optimizing. It's going to be a lot more efficient in the advertising console if you're scrolling through campaigns rather than having to go into each one, figure out what it is. So make sure you include the ASIN, the actual keyword that you're targeting, just to make it a bit easier, what the product is, what the match type is, and include single keyword ad groups, so that way you can filter by SCAG within the search tab, and that way everything that you're running as a SCAG will show up. Now next, the most important thing to do is actually, once you've set up these campaigns, put these in the keyword tracker. It's going to be very important to monitor where the keyword performance is and how they're performing. You're going to want to be watching almost every couple of days, seeing how things are looking. Are you getting those rankings increased? If you aren't, you're going to have to make some changes and try and make it that it works. Potentially, if your bids aren't getting enough traction, you're going to have to increase them. You're going to have to look at the placements. Or in some cases, maybe there's an issue with the listing that's meaning that you're not indexing for that keyword. And that brings me on to the next point. You're going to have to go into the listing and make some adjustments so that you rank organically easier. So what that means is taking some of these search terms such as cutting board and including it within some of the title and bullet points. So what you should be doing is using certain keywords about the product and descriptors to actually talk about what the product is and what the functionality is. So as a chopping board, you want to be including all of that information in any of the SEO options. Even when it comes to the images, it's very important to include text on there just so that you do SEO index for some of these terms. This is all about making sure Amazon knows that you are relevant for those terms. Because if they see them in your listing and you're running ads for them, they're going to know that that's perfectly relevant and that you should be ranking for those terms. What you also need to do is look at what the actual ranking is for the product. So you're going to see that under BSR. As you can see on this one, we're ranked number 8 for cutting boards. So the category is correct. But in some cases, we've seen categories are far from correct. So definitely check over your category. Make sure Amazon hasn't made a change or you haven't got the wrong category in there. Of course, potentially if you set up the listing a while ago, there might be a better category that better fits your product. So it's worth having a look at that, seeing if there's a better fit. And of course, once you have those things in place, you can look at optimizing your listing. Optimizing your listing is going to be helpful when it comes to conversion rate, because having simple things on your listing is going to make it convert a lot better. So, for example, what they're doing quite well is they have the sizes within the price sections. So you can easily see, okay, that's what I'm getting for that price, and you can filter through the size that you want. But some people might struggle to figure out what those sizes are, and then if they get one that's too big, they might return it. So what you can do here is actually show examples of how big they are. So have a real life example, say for example this, because most people know what the size of a tomato is or some peppers. It's going to give them a good idea. Okay, this is a big chopping board. That's a bit too big for my kitchen, so I'm going to go for one of the smaller options. Or potentially it's too small, because there's a bunch of different varieties of chopping boards you can buy, so you need to make sure that you are demonstrating to the customer what size it actually is. Sizes do make a big difference and they can impact return rates, so it's better to deal with this early and not affect your return rates negatively. So obviously, when it comes to your gallery images, have some descriptors onto what the size is so the customer knows what to expect, but also talk about why the product's good. Talk about why you're better than the competition, what you have different. If there is anything different, highlight it very effectively. Maybe even include it in the title and the first bullet point, depending on how relevant it is. But there's a lot of things you can do here, and it's all about making small improvements to your images so that you can have a better conversion rate. Even a small conversion rate improvement will impact your ACoS and make it a lot cheaper for you to rank. Amazon looks at conversion rate and sales velocity when ranking you, so you need to have these both dialed in and be doing the best you can. And that means as well, you should be looking at A+ content. So have your brand story, get all that set up, have a video down here. They're definitely lacking that in terms of a video, but have A+ content premium. If you have the older A+, it's definitely worth looking at upgrading, can make a difference in terms of your click-through rate. So it's worth having that improvement. And what you want to do is actually look at a mix between lifestyle use cases of the product as well as infographics like this. Like I was saying earlier, this image here gives a pretty good example of how big the product actually is, because you can see the things on their counter, you can compare that on your mind, how big these products are, and that gives you an idea. There's a pretty big chopping board. So you want to mix between things like this, but also use cases. It being washed, it being cleaned, work being done on it. I think they've nailed it in terms of the lifestyle images and the infographics. But the one thing they're missing is a video. Videos, of course, are a pretty good way to get your points across and also show some of the cool features about the product. Once you have a video, you can upload this to the A+ content, get that all done, and then it will look a lot better when you're scrolling through. You can also go a bit more creative here, right? You could give more information about recipes. You could show different foods, like what they're doing. You just need to get creative about it. And working with a design agency will give you a bit more of an idea. They'll be able to look at some comparables and give you some ideas based on that. So should be relatively straightforward to do, but I would do some research in your position, look at your competitors, see what they're doing, and see what you can do to improve. Now, it's important to know what type of ads you should be running. And of course, if you're trying to rank to the top of search, you should be using sponsored product campaigns. And as you can see, for this product, they're running sponsored product campaigns, exact match at the top of search. So that's going to be your main priority campaign, the single keyword campaign that I'd showed you before. Now, there are other options. You can, of course, use headline ads if you want. Sometimes these aren't as effective because the cost per click is high, and of course, it's not that great in terms of converting, but depending on your product, it might be a good fit. You can also use video ads as they do here. You want to scroll down to the middle of the page, and having a video does make the product stand out a bit. So have a video ad on your page, make it stand out, and give more placements on that search page. Once you have these set up, you want to really dial in your ads. You want to be optimizing these regularly. If you find the headline ads not working, cut it, put that ad spend into the sponsored products or the sponsored brand video. From that, obviously, you need to be adding things in there. Of course, if you find long tail keywords that are similar, you can use that to expand your sales overall. But you want to be dominating the top search. But whatever you do, make sure you are taking full advantage of ad types that will get you to the top of search. And even think a little bit bigger than that. You can look at your competitors and you can run product targeting ads on them. So even when they are being searched on certain keywords, you will get sales from that keyword via your competitor. So there are multiple ways you can do this, but of course, the main one is run your single keyword campaigns and get things going pretty quick. We hope you found that helpful, and hopefully you take full advantage of these strategies to get your products to the top of page one. Of course, if you need help with this, you don't have the time to manage it yourself, and you just don't know where to begin, contact us below, KickstartPPC.com, schedule an audit with us, see how we can help you out. If you want more Amazon PPC and FBA content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're uploading weekly Amazon PPC content, so don't forget to subscribe and stay up to date with what's up and coming, what we've uploaded before. Now, until the next video, hope you guys have a good one, and we'll see you soon. Bye.